Bettadamallali estate was established by the Europeans in the early 1900s. Our founder and my grandfather, Mr. A.D. Ramegowda, purchased this estate in the year 1947. Back then the area wasn't as large, and then through the efforts of my grandfather and my parents, Mr. and Mrs. A.R. Nagesh Gowda, it has expanded to over 450 acres to this day. It is currently being owned and operated by the members of the second and third generation. Our estate is located along the Western Ghats in the district of Chikmagalur, which has the right latitude, longitude and the altitude for coffee cultivation. We are located in a region of Chikmagalur known as Kadgal Nadu. Although no one knows exactly what this means, it has references to both rocks and wilderness in our native language. The microcosm created by these mountains have helped establish a very unique and diverse plant and wildlife population, an abundance of rivers and streams, and a weather pattern that helps produce the finest quality of coffee from India. Chikmagalur is often considered synonymous with coffee itself, as the history, the landscape and the economy is intertwined with the crop. The estate is situated at an altitude ranging between 800 and 1350 meters, with Arabica occupying elevations over 1000 meters and Robusta being cultivated in elevations between 800 and 1000 meters. Our rainfall is about 2200 millimeters annually, and we have cool summers and mild winters. We grow both Arabica and Robusta. The predominant Arabica varieties under cultivation are Selection 795, Selection 9 and Selection 6. And only recently have we started planting other semi-dwarf varieties such as Sachimor, Chandragiri and Hemavati. The Robusta varieties under cultivation is mostly the old Robusta variety. And 100% of our coffee is shade grown. The coffee plants thrive under a shade of mixed jungle species and silver oak that we have planted. This helps the beans mature slowly, resulting in a well-rounded cup. Our terrain and the shade trees that we have growing in the estate don't really permit us to use any mechanization. So all our coffee is picked by hand, and we practice selective picking where only the red ripe cherries are harvested. So we go through the estate about 2 or 3 times to complete our picking. And once the cherries are harvested, they're brought to the yard and hand sorted again to remove any green cherries that may have been picked by accident. After the coffee cherries are hand sorted, they are sent to our pulping unit and then further on into the fermentation tanks, where they are naturally fermented for over 36 hours. And we follow a natural fermentation process wherein we do not add any yeast artificially. The yeast that is present naturally in the beans break down the sugars. So post fermentation, we wash the coffee and then soak it for about an hour before it is transported to the drying yard. We have chosen to dry our beans in the more traditional way of sun drying rather than going in for mechanical dryers. The beans are spread out evenly on the drying yard and let to dry for about 3 to 5 days. They are also raked throughout the day to ensure that there is uniform drying of all the beans. The beans are dried to over 11.5% moisture content before they are bagged. So post bagging in our drying yard right here, we store the coffee beans in our warehouse to help them rest. Now as you can see, the bags are stacked on wooden pallets about half a foot off the ground and about a foot away from the wall. So this helps the coffee from, it prevents the coffee from accumulating any moisture that could be present on the floor or on the ceilings. To help with the traceability efforts, we give each lot and each bag a unique number. So if ever required, we can get into the history of the lot to trace back to the date of harvest, the day of pulping, the day the coffee was bagged, the moisture content at drying, and the location where the coffee was picked, and the variety of the plant that the beans came from. We use the coffee husk that's obtained during the pulping process to convert it into compost in our compost pits, along with cattle manure and other agricultural waste for about a year, and then this is applied back onto the coffee estate to help improve the soil fertility and the water retention capacity of the soil. To this day, coffee plantations are the largest employers in the district, and they add considerable value to the environment and the economy by conserving the local flora and fauna and by acting as carbon sinks. Not to mention the fact that coffee plantations are carbon negative when one looks into their carbon footprint. At the same time, we are also conducting some experiments with the production of honeys and natural coffees, and we are planning on expanding on this in the coming years. And we are one among the few coffee planters in India who produce fully washed Arabica and Robusta parchment coffee. Our efforts have yielded positive results in the past and continue to do so to this day. We were awarded the first prize at the Coffee Quality Prize for Espresso by Illy Cafe in the year 2008 and the third prize the previous year. We are also constantly in touch with the consumers, the roasters, and our coffee buyers to know their requirements, and we tweak our processes accordingly to match their needs. At the end of it all, we hope to produce great coffee and make this a better place for generations to come.